Millions of spectators felt a sense of belonging to something greater than themselves for 9 seasons as those soft good evenings reverberated from Waltons Mountain. The program provided solace in times of uncertainty by serving as a reminder that family was important even when everything else seemed insecure. The events that transpired after the cameras ceased recording, however, paint an entirely different picture. No screenplay could have prepared some cast members for the heartbreaks they experienced. Before finding forgiveness, a well-liked actor lost everything and was placed on a blacklist. In a scene that moved viewers to tears, another had a devastating stroke but overcame all obstacles to return to the show. The entertainment industry was shocked by the sudden death of a young celebrity at the age of 54. And the survivors who are still alive today, in 2025, have chosen unexpected routes. All of the cast members' true stories are being revealed, along with the traumas that broke them, the resiliency that helped them recover, and the legacies they left behind. You'll be surprised by some of these discoveries. You will be moved by others in unexpected ways. By the conclusion, you will have a whole new perspective on this cherished family. So stay with us. When Richard Thomas took on the role of John Boy at the age of 21, he became the Waltons' literary conscience. Thomas was born in New York City on June 13, 1951, and he was the epitome of every young idealist who ever aspired to accomplish greater in life while yet appreciating their roots. Anyone who is caught between ambition and roots, between the allure of home and the desire for something greater, will recognize the uneasiness he portrayed. He was recognized as one of the most talented young performers of his time and won an Emmy for his emotional honesty. Thomas, however, refused to let Hollywood devour him in spite of his unexpected celebrity. Shakespeare, national tours, and highly acclaimed Broadway productions all demonstrated his flexibility, and he kept going back to the theater. Fans had loved his serious, grounded presence from the start, and his later television work only served to emphasize that. Richard Thomas, at 73, is a live example that you don't have to lose yourself to succeed. His passion, which gave the play a timeless feel, continues to inspire anyone who has ever dreamed big from a little area. When Ralph Waite joined the series at the age of 44, he gave a unique quality to the role of John Walton Sr. Waite, who was born in White Plains, New York, on June 22, 1928, became the dependable moral compass for millions of viewers. The modest dignity of fathers during the Great Depression was encapsulated by his rich voice and unassuming friendliness. Men who led their families with compassion and unflinching duty despite carrying more weight than they ever acknowledged. However, its genuineness originated from a brutally true place. Wade suffered the unfathomable loss of his little daughter before to becoming a successful actor. This tragedy heightened every poignant moment he portrayed on television. His portrayal of John Walton was impacted by this loss, which made him seem less like a fictional character and more like the fathers and grandfathers that many Americans recalled from trying times. Waite used that same sense of fairness in her political engagement outside of acting. He worked well into his elder years, always providing authenticity to new generations of viewers, motivated by values that reflected in his on-screen demeanor. Ralph Waite, who was 85 years old, died on February 13, 2014. When she faced Olivia Walton at the age of 33, Michael Learn took on an impossible task, leaving behind not only a body of work but also a legacy of integrity that television has struggled to match since. She was a very young actor who was born in Washington, D.C. on April 9, 1939, and played the mother of 7 in a household with strong ties to the American Depression. However, Learned managed to portray the part with emotional maturity that instantly struck a chord with the audience. She personified the quiet tenacity, compassion, and inner determination that generations of American moms were accustomed with women who made daily, frequently unspoken sacrifices to keep their families together in the face of an uncertain and harsh outer world. She won 3 Emmys for her portrayal of Olivia's hardships, which included illness, bereavement, discipline, faith, and the intense, unconditional love that characterized the character. However, there were unstated costs associated with the performance. Off-screen, Learn struggled with her own withism, which she would later freely disclose to support others going through similar struggles. Audiences' respect for her was further heightened by her openness to share that journey. Long after the show concluded, she had a prosperous career in theater and television, showcasing her versatility in a variety of roles. Michael Learned is still regarded as a beloved character in American television history at the age of 85. Earl Hamner Jr. gave the Waltons something no other creator could have given them, his own heart. She is remembered not only for her kindness, but also for the depth of spirit and quiet strength that have defined her legacy. Hamner, who was born in Schuyler, Virginia, on July 10, 1923, was 49 when he started narrating the series he developed, turning recollections of his early years during the Great Depression into one of the most cherished American dramas ever produced. Each episode was infused with wisdom, consolation, and the kind of calm faith that older generations still cherish thanks to his warm Virginia voice. Through his storytelling, Hamner presented audiences with a world in which familial ties, basic decency, and tenacity in the face of adversity were not only feasible but also necessary. With genuineness rather than romanticism, he depicted common people, parents putting in long hours, kids learning right from wrong, and communities supporting one another. The show's reputation as a haven of kindness in a world that is changing quickly was shaped by its sincerity, which became its beating heart. A prolific writer who consistently anchored his work in humanity and the subtle beauty of everyday life. Hamner continued to create books, radio dramas, and other television projects after the series concluded. Earl Hamner Jr. died on March 24, 2016, at the age of 92. Generations of viewers, however, have carried on his legacy by continuing to find comfort and hope in the tales he left behind. When Will Geer joined the Waltons at the age of 70, he contributed more than just his acting skills. Geer, who was born in Frankfort, Indiana, on March 9, 1902, reflected Grandpa Zeb's loving, wise, and mischievous attitude. His booming laugh, love of the outdoors, and gentle teasing gave stability and joy to the mountain. His journey to that position, however, was far from straightforward. Geers was forced back on stage and away from the screen during the McCarthy era of the 1950s, after he was blacklisted from Hollywood for refusing to appear before the House Un-American Activities Committee. He gave community theater and activism his all instead of giving up, eventually establishing the Wilge Geer Theatricum Botanicum, an outdoor theater that is still going strong today. The Waltons, his subsequent comeback to television, served as a potent example of his tenacity and determination. The weight of a guy who had lived life to the fullest, stood up for what he believed in, and found contentment in small pleasures was evident in Geer's performance. His personal life, which was based on activism, folk music, and a lifelong love of the arts, was as vibrant as the role he played. Then disaster struck without warning. At the age of 76, Will Geer died on April 22, 1978, soon after the season's filming concluded. Grandpa Zeb's position as one of the show's most cherished seniors is cemented by the cast's profound anguish and the show's gentle farewell to him. which continue to rank among the most poignant moments in television history. When Ellen Corby joined the series at age 61, she brought decades of Hollywood tenacity to the role of Grandma Esther. Corby, who was born in Racine, Wisconsin, on June 3, 1911, rose from studio writing assistant to become one of the most renowned character actresses in the business. Esther was the family's compass because of her keen sense of humor, kind reprimands, and unshakable moral principles. Her love and ideals influenced the Walton kids more than any lesson they learned in school. Then catastrophe hit in 1976. Corby had a terrible stroke, which changed the course of the series and her own life. It was widely believed that she would resign because the physical toll would be too great. Still, Corby returned to the program the following year with an incredible tenacity that reflected the role she performed. Although her movement was clearly compromised and her speech was altered, her spirit was unaffected. As she continued to play Esther with the same dignity and emotional sincerity, viewers watched in awe, providing a poignant depiction of aging, rehabilitation, and the quiet bravery needed to continue. Many of the viewers, who were dealing with similar issues with their own elderly family members, found great resonance in that moment. At the age of 87, Ellen Corby passed away on April 14, 1999, leaving behind a resilient picture that serves as a reminder to viewers of the unsung power of the mothers and grandparents who helped to define America's history. At the age of 44, Joe Conley assumed the post of storekeeper Ike Godsey, becoming the steady heart of Waltons Mountain. Conley, who was born in Buffalo, New York, on March 3, 1928, was the type of shopkeeper that every little community used to rely on. A man who genuinely cared about the community around him, knew everyone, and listened to everyone. He embodied the essence of rural America, where a general shop was more than simply a place to do business. With his kind smile and gentle humor, it served as a meeting spot for tales, problems, and goodwill among neighbors. Off-screen, Conley succeeded as a real estate investor and had a low-key personal life by balancing his Hollywood career with astute economic sense. However, his later years were not without difficulties. He battled dementia for a long time before dying on July 7, 2013, at the age of 85. His portrayal of Ike is still a treasured memory for many who knew someone similar to him growing up. A remembrance of a time when individuals who truly cared held communities together. When John Walmsley created Jason Walton, he was only 16. However, some of the most memorable moments of the event were shaped by his innate musicality. Before his family relocated to California, he was born in Blackburn, England, on February 6, 1956. A young man looking for his way in a world of hardship and hope was captivated by Walmsley's modest sensitivity and kind demeanor. Jason's guitar served as a reminder to the audience of the therapeutic value of music in trying times, a message that struck a deep chord with families who had lived through the Great Depression. Following the Waltons, Walmsley continued to pursue that vocation, establishing a career as a session musician, vocalist, and songwriter alongside well-known performers. He is still a cherished living link to Waltons Mountain at the age of 69. He is remembered not only for his acting, but also for the sincerity and passion he put into each role. When Mary Elizabeth McDonough joined the company at the age of 11, she carried emotional weight much beyond her years. McDonough, who was born in Venice, California, on May 4, 1961, played Erin Walton with an adultness that was surprising for her age. Erin navigated the bittersweet struggles of early womanhood while navigating the uncertainty of childhood, overcoming heartbreak, identity issues, aspirations, and fortitude. Millions of females grew up with Erin because of MacDonald's soft-spoken kindness and gentle expressions. She later shared her personal health struggles and used her position to promote awareness and well-being, emerging as a crucial voice for women negotiating the long-term demands of celebrity and self-image. She is still appreciated today at age 63 for her grace, candor, and the enduring tenderness she showed the Walton family. When Eric Scott started playing Ben Walton, the energetic, enterprising son whose young zeal and will became one of the show's emotional pillars, he was just 14 years old. Scott was born in Los Angeles on October 17, 1958, and his genuine portrayal of Ben's restlessness and desire struck a profound chord. In keeping with the realities of many American families during the Great Depression, viewers saw Ben pursue lofty goals, struggle with responsibilities, fall in and out of love, and eventually grow into a strong, hard-working man. However, Scott's life took a challenging turn off-screen. His journey forward was defined by the sadness caused by the terrible loss of his first marriage. However, he found strength in rebuilding, constructing a solid, quiet existence outside of Hollywood while managing his own company, much like the character he played. Even at 66, Eric Scott is still a beloved member of the Walton family. Judy Norton, who was just 14 when she started playing Mary Ellen Walton, the strong-willed eldest daughter whose goals extended well beyond the mountain, is remembered for the honesty and boyish grit he brought to the mountain. Norton, who was born in Santa Monica, California, on January 11, 1958, portrayed a vivacious girl who became a fan favorite due to her compassion, stubbornness, and ferocious drive. Mary Ellen's transformation from tomboy to nurse demonstrated the tenacity of women throughout the Great Depression who persevered in bringing families and communities together. Norton's portrayal of a young woman entering adulthood with bravery and tenderness masterfully encapsulated that spirit. She candidly discussed the emotional difficulties of growing up in the spotlight while continuing to act, direct, and perform on stage after the Waltons. At the age of 67, Norton is still active, appreciative, and close to her followers. She is still recognized for the passion and love she gave Mary Ellen. David W. When Harper joined the ensemble at the age of 11, he gave Jim Bob Walton a gentle tenderness. Harper, who was born in Abilene, Texas, on October 4, 1961, played the idealistic, mechanically talented youngest son who was trying to figure out where he fit into a large family and an unknowable world. His persona represented the aspirations and hardships of young people lured to engineering, aviation, and aspirations beyond the mountain during the Great Depression. Away from the television, Harper had a quiet, reserved existence, leaving Hollywood after the series to pursue her studies and modest career away from the spotlight. During the performance, he also experienced personal traumas, such as the loss of his mother, which he carried in silence. Fans cherish his gentle nature and the genuineness he brought to Jim Bob, and he now lives a quiet, contemplative life at the age of 63. When Cammy Cutotler made her debut as Elizabeth Walton, the brilliant youngest daughter whose innate purity made her feel like the heart of the mountain, she was just 7 years old. Cutotler was born in Long Beach, California, on June 17, 1965. During difficult times, his sweetness reminded listeners of the fleeting pleasures of youth. Her development from an inquisitive young girl to a reflective young lady was witnessed by viewers at 1533. Her change reflected the upbringings of millions of people who shared her. Cutotler completely left Hollywood as an adult to focus on her studies, first as a teacher and then as a school administrator. she cherishes the legacy of a childhood role that defined her life and impacted generations. And at the age of 59, she is still adored by fans and deeply linked to the Walton community. John Ritter played the sincere young Reverend Matthew Fordwick on the Waltons before he rose to fame on Three's Company. Ritter, who was born in Burbank, California, on September 17, 1948, was only 24 years old when he brought youthful authenticity to the part, playing an anxious newcomer who develops into a kind, considerate community leader. Ritter's benevolence throughout his life was reflected in his quiet persistence, open heart, and gentle humor. The Waltons contributed to the display of traits that would eventually characterize his career. Perfect humorous timing that is tempered with real warmth and emotional authenticity. Ritter was well liked off-screen for his compassion, modesty, and family dedication. Then, without notice, catastrophe struck. Fans and the entertainment industry were shocked when John Ritter unexpectedly died on September 11, 2003, at the age of 54 from an undetected aortic dissection. His children, his charity endeavors, and the innumerable individuals who have been inspired by his energy and humor all contribute to his lasting legacy. At 42 years old, Ronnie Claire Edwards made her series debut as Ike's refined, quirky, and incredibly dramatic wife, Corpth Godse. Having been born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, on February 9, 1933, Edwards added theatrical depth to a character whose prim demeanor, high standards, and fragile pride typified a type of Southern lady that is rarely depicted with such comedy and empathy. Her battles with loneliness, identity, and self-worth struck a chord with viewers who saw aspects of their own lives mirrored in her. Off-screen, Edwards had a busy life as a performer, writer, and preservationist. She even converted an old schoolhouse into her own home and creative haven. She died at the age of 83 on June 14, 2016, leaving behind a legacy of humor, charm, and enduring character work that gave the Waltons depth and beauty. When Mary Jackson played Emily Baldwin, the softer, more sentimental half of the adored Baldwin sisters, she was 51 years old. Jackson, who was born in Milford, Michigan, on November 22, 1910, contributed sophisticated manners and a kind grin that made the show's depiction of a bygone era of Southern gentility seem more genuine. One of the series' most poignant recurrent themes was Emily's passionate yearning for Ashley Longworth and the fragile anguish she bore during his absence. Jackson was a successful academic and teacher before deciding to pursue acting later in life. He brought quiet wisdom and years of observation to each performance. She died at the age of 95 on December 10, 2005. Her work serves as a reminder of the emotional complexity that may be discovered in characters that are sometimes written off as simple, exposing their painful humanity. Mai Baldwin, the harsher, more assertive sister of the Baldwin couple, was played by Helen Klebb, who was 65 at the time. Born in Monona, Washington, on January 6, 1907, Klebb's piercing voice, solemn demeanor, and persistent dedication to family history contributed to the sisters' notoriety. My steadfast convictions and devoted devotion to tradition came to represent an older South struggling with change. Klebb herself had a remarkably lengthy career in television, film, and radio. Known for her accuracy and subtle comedic timing, she persevered through Hollywood's hard years with her trademark grit, landing little parts that gradually grew into a reputable body of work. At the age of 96, Helen Klebb passed away on December 28, 2003, leaving behind a legacy of elegance and skill that still warms the hearts of devoted followers. The Waltons' legacy endures, influencing new generations even as the years pass. On May 30, 2024, Tom Bauer, who played Dr. Curtis Willard with genuineness and devotion, died at the age of 86, leaving behind memories of a doctor who personified the modest heroism of small-town medicine. Before he passed away in 2006, at the age of 75, Robert Donner offered impish fun as Yancy Tucker. At the age of 62, Nora Marlowe's kind depiction of Miss S. Brimmer came to an abrupt end in 1977. Louis Arrett's depiction of J. before his death in 2001 at the age of 65 D. Pickett demonstrated a flawed but very human man. Every actor, those who are still with us, and those who have passed away, made a lasting contribution to the history of American television. Those who are left preserve recollections of a more carefree era when family was paramount. The stories our departed left behind are more poignant and profound than any screenplay could ever hope to convey. They worked together to produce something that went beyond amusement. They provided us with solace in times of uncertainty, served as a reminder that wonderful things still remained, and demonstrated to us the value of family in all its complexities, messiness, and beauty. Their legacy endures not only in reruns, but also in the hearts of all those who have ever found comfort on Waltons Mountain, a location that will always feel like home.